And I really respected the fact that he told Blake, like, if you don't want to be with me publicly, you can't get this D privately. We stand, we stand. Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Hello if you're new. So today's video is going to be a review of Love, Victor, which just dropped on Hulu. I hope everybody is doing as well as can be, and I hope everybody is being as proactive as possible in supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. If you're still on the lookout for some resources, I've linked some in my description. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my commentary. I'm always up for a chat, I'm always up for a debate, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a dislike, no hard feelings. So let's get into the review. So, Love, Victor. This is a series I was definitely excited to see. I love teen drama. I love living vicariously through these teen dramas, shawty. There was a little bit of drama surrounding this series because it was originally meant to be on Disney Plus, but it wasn't deemed family friendly. And and a lot of people were speculating that the reason why it wasn't deemed family friendly was because of its handling of sexuality and LGBTQ plus issues. Watching the series, I would say it was pretty PG. You don't really see much going on. It's just kind of kissing. But I guess for Disney Plus, it is kind of PG content. It's not like strictly like you stuff on there. There is PG content on that. So I feel like this series is pretty much PG in my opinion. So I think it is very suspect that it wasn't deemed very family friendly. And then of course that is just a whole other debate, and I feel like the family friendly debate always comes up when it's handling with gay issues. I often see that argument come up a lot, and they often defend it as, oh, I don't care if it's straight or gay, any sort of sexuality I don't think kids should be seeing. But it's very funny how these statements never come up when it's straight content. It's only when it's gay content suddenly people are up in arms, which I just think is entirely suspicious. I mean, fair enough if you were consistent in your message and every time there was a Disney film that had a kiss on it you were doing an Instagram essay, but it kind of just seems like only when it's gay content. I mean, just confess, honey, just confess. Ain't fooling nobody. And as you can tell, I personally don't see an issue with it. I don't think kids are too young to quote unquote learn about the fact that gay people do exist in the world that we live in. And there was a key quote in this series, actually. It was concerning a whole different issue, but they said, concerning their little brother and a certain issue that the family were dealing with, that they were trying to kind of sweep under the rug. Victor said that his little brother was little, but he isn't stupid. And that's a key thing, that kids are not stupid. And I find it very interesting how people say, oh, the kids are too young. And I just kind of think, like, surely your memory is not that bad. Like, surely you remember being a child and you being acutely aware of sexuality of some sort. I knew pretty young what a gay person was. I knew pretty young that you could have same-sex attraction. So I just feel like in the age of information, where we are constantly bombarded with heterosexual images, I don't really see the problem of introducing homosexuality as well, because that is the reality of the world. And I personally think that it is normal, but I guess people are going to parent their kids however they want. I personally feel very sorry for children who have parents like that, especially if those children are gay or trying to figure out their sexuality or trying to explore their sexuality. But run over, let's continue this series. So obviously I kind of knew it was going to be similar to Love, Simon. Does intertwine the two together. Simon is Victor's mentor and they kind of write to each other and they kind of have this online friendship where Victor confides in Simon about his sexuality and his exploration of his sexuality. And so in my head going into this, I kind of just thought we were going to see Victor going through it, exploring things, trying to figure himself out, and maybe a reveal, getting close to a reveal of some sort. That's kind of what I was anticipating. And that's pretty much what the narrative was. We saw Victor going through it, kind of exploring his sexuality. I'm not sure what that noise is. It kind of sounds like a bed squeaking. I guess somebody's getting it on. But anyway. Oh, I guess quarantine be like that sometimes. Okay, so the series starts off with him and his family moving to a new state and he's starting at a new school. It's a fresh start, and obviously when you go to a new school, it's a fresh start. You can make up your own identity, you can be a new person, but he's doing this while still kind of figuring out his sexuality, exploring his sexuality, and coming to accept the fact that he's gay. So in the opening episode, it's kind of, we get a kind of insight into Victor's mind. He's kind of in that kind of stage where he's kind of struggling to accept his sexuality, and he's kind of venting to Simon and basically saying how he's jealous of him and he hates how he has it so easy. You know, he has liberal parents, he has friends that accept him for who he is, he has a school that accepts him for who he is, from a middle class background. But not everybody has it like that. And I think that is a very important point. Obviously, Victor, he's Latino, he's from a working class family, and they're very religious and have somewhat conservative views. In terms of accepting your sexuality or coming out, there is this kind of overall message of just come out, everything will be fine, you'll feel so much better after coming out. But it doesn't take into, but I think often that kind of sweeps under the rug that lots of people don't have the environment to do that safely. Lots of people are coming out to abusive homophobic parents. A lot of people are coming out to being kicked out of their home. A lot of people are coming out to people turning their back on them. And in some countries you can literally be killed just for being gay. And that's why I kind of don't get into the business of when people speculate that somebody is gay. There's often this kind of energy of, oh, we know you're gay, so just say that you're gay. So there's also kind of that pressure as well. And I've seen that a lot, especially with reality TV shows, heterosexual leaning reality TV shows, when contestants are suspected of being gay or bi. There's this energy of, oh, why are they pretending? They should just admit to it. But like I said, it's just not that easy for everyone to do. I think that's definitely a valid experience that needs to be talked about more, because I think in a lot of these dramas, it's often romanticized as they're coming out to accepting parents and everything's going to be okay, when unfortunately that is not a reality for a lot of LGBT youth and adults. So in terms of the kind of key issues concerning Victor's sexuality that is touched upon in this series, the first one is kind of being gay in a conservative or a Christian, in a conservative/Christian household. And I think today, especially if you live in the West, it's easier for gay children to function. I think there is a lot more, I'd say, tolerance for gay people within the Christian community. Could be welcomed into a Christian home, but it's still very much restricted. So for instance, like we saw at Victor's party, the gay couple, they'd be happy to have them at the party, but they wouldn't be happy to have them, you know, having any form of PDA. There is this thing of, okay, there's gay people in the world, you know, love thy neighbour, but there's still this overall sense of I wouldn't want my kid to be gay, and if I found out that my kid was gay, I'd want them to conform to a heterosexual disguise. There's still kind of a lot of that going on in the Christian community. There is some Christians out there that are accepting, and there's even gay Christians out there, but I think it's still the majority of Christians and Christian households in the West are still at that tolerant level. There's still a lot of that I don't disagree with, or that lifestyle. So yeah, I feel like that was an authentic portrayal of the modern Western Christian family. But I'd be interested to hear from people who are Christian or grew up in a Christian background. How do you think kind of Christian gay relations are today? How would you describe them? They also addressed casual homophobia and kind of the language that I think the phrase that they use is kind of like a secondary school phrase. It was used a lot at my time in secondary school, the phrase, oh, that's so gay. And sometimes you see it on Twitter as well, like, oh, that person got a manacle, that's so gay, that's so gay. It's kind of, I'm not sure if it's boneless, the FAG word. I'd say it's kind of like a variation. So a lot of that was flying around. Gaylord was one at some point. I think that kind of died out. But That's So Gay was very prevalent in my secondary school. I haven't really heard it in a while, But I remember once I was in McDonald's about a year ago and there were some teens in there and one of them said it. So I was like, okay, it seems like it's still like a common phrase going around in secondary school. It's not really a phrase that I use personally in my vocabulary, but at the time in secondary school, I kind of thought of it as a harmless phrase. And then one day, I don't know why, but I just started thinking about it. I was just like, is this harmless or is it an insult? Because it's not like they were saying that is so happy, that is so quirky, because the original meaning of gay was kind of like happy, overexcited, and that's not the phrase that people were saying it as. They were saying it as gay people were the butt of the joke. It was a negative, and I would classify it as a slur, because I guess you could kind of compare it to phrases like that I've heard that are clearly insults. So that is so black, or that is so which is an abbreviation of African, and those, and you know, to some people that would clearly be seen as an insult, and you could literally kind of just switch that around and place that with gay. That is so gay. So clearly it's not about a speculation of someone's sexuality. It's clearly an insult. It's clearly an insult. So I was just thinking about it. You know, those days when you start philosophizing about stuff, I was just thinking about it. And I asked one of my friends who'd recently came out, you know, do you view it, that phrase, do you view that phrase as harmless, or do you view it as an insult? And he said, yeah, I view it as an insult, because they're basically saying being gay is an insult. So, and then, you know, after that, it was kind of like confirmation for me. I just took that phrase out of my vocabulary. I still recognize that, you know, it's so casual, and I don't think people are necessarily naive to the fact that it is an insult, but I think it was because at school it was perfectly okay for gay people to be the butt of the joke. So I think that was very subtle, because in these teen series they usually just go all out with the FAG word. The series also kind of touches on the acceptance of your identity, your gay identity, really well as well. And in terms of what that actually means, accepting your identity, and publicly and unapologetically, and that also means, you know, taking everything that comes with it, the backlash, the danger, the fact that your life is not going to be the same, that your life is not going to be as easy as it used to be. So I think they touched on that pretty well. And it was quite emotional, to be honest. I really got in my feelings. And it also does a really good job of depicting the gay community, in terms of depicting the LGBT community as a community, and how community really does look out for one another, because, you know, because if we're just going by stats, society is not looking out for LGBT plus, the police system is not looking out for LGBT plus people. So you really just have to look out for yourself, and you have to gather that community. Of course, there's a lot of LGBT plus people who come from, you know, loving homes that accept them for who they are, but that is not everyone's story. So I feel like communities of people who can truly understand you are important, because, you know, yes, it's nice to have some, you know, a friend to vent to, but when they don't know your experience, I don't know, the vent just doesn't hit as hard. But when somebody actually knows your experience, lives that experience with you, the vent is different, the community is different, the heart-to-hearts are different, the jokes are different. The community is really strong, and from what I have seen, the LGBT community really is a force, a family, and I can understand why people really do be hating on it. The Community NYC vibe was a little bit cheesy in areas. Obviously, when Victor just spontaneously decided to go to New York to visit Simon, it was a little bit cheesy, yes, but I think it did show how everybody comes together, and how the LGBT community really does look out for one another. So in terms of the other aspects of the narrative, before I kind of give my verdict overall on the narrative, let's talk about the relationships. Obviously, Victor's first relationship was with Mia. Mia is the popular girl at school. She's not the regular popular girl. She's not the mean girl. She's down to earth. She's real. She's kind. And Victor starts a relationship with her. But it's very clear that Victor has only really started this relationship to try and mask his sexuality, try and live the het fantasy, because, you know, his life was going to be so much easier if he just lives this het fantasy. And, you know, he said that he did like her, he did love her, and he thought that he was special, and he felt butterflies when he kissed her. And I think all of these things are true. Obviously, they did include, when he was researching, that, you know, sexuality is fluid. Community, you know, has so many letters in it for, you know, has so many variations in it for a reason, because sexuality, it's not this binary thing. And, you know, a gay person could kiss and, you know, feel the sensation of a kiss, because at the end of the day, they're still human, they still have nerve endings. So, you know, they could have a kiss, they could even have sex with somebody and, you know, be able to do the deed. But that still doesn't negate from the fact that they are gay. And he kind of realizes that his feelings, these feelings that he's trying to force for Mia, does not compare what he feels for Benji. And he acknowledges that, but he's just trying to live the fantasy. He's trying to just make his life as comfortable as possible. And, you know, Mia ends up being his beard. And that's another conversation, guys. The beard. And I think there's kind of two arguments. It's kind of like, oh, it's so immoral, it's so deceptive. Like, how dare somebody just lie to somebody? And then there's the other half that kind of have a bit more empathy for the person who's doing the bearding and how they felt like they had to live a lie. And I can understand both areas. I think I do kind of lean more to the empathetic parts. I think whoever's been done wrong by, because regardless of whether you're empathetic or not, you know, this person has, you know, deceived somebody, caused upset to somebody. And I think the person who has bearded is perfectly entitled to feel some type of way about being bearded. I feel like bearding is wrong if the person doesn't know. I feel like if the person knows, I think that's a different story if they have like an arrangement. But I think the reason why I am leaning towards empathetic, but I also think obviously it's clear Mia didn't have any idea. But I think in some beard situations, even if the person doing the bearding hasn't confessed to their partner, I think some partners actually know and willingly turn a blind eye because they're in love with their beard, because they are in love with the person who is bearding them. So I think there is that as well. I was kind of like interested to see whether they're going to go down that route, because I think it is very common. People who know that their husband is gay but are turning a blind eye because they're in love with their husband. But where do you stand on the bearded debate? I just feel like it's just a form of deception, but I do feel like it is sensationalized a lot, because especially from people who already have a problem with gay people. I gotta say it. I feel like, yes, it's deception, but I don't think like it's something that somebody will get over it. I really highly doubt that somebody will be traumatized from finding out that their boyfriend or their husband was gay, you know. Obviously it's unfortunate if it's you, but I just feel like it's just like any other bad relationship or relationship that didn't work out, in my opinion. But I'd be interested to hear from you guys. What did you think about the beard situation? Obviously I'm going to talk about the reveal at the end, so stay tuned for that. And then of course the second relationship, Benji, he's like the gay hottie, and he's somebody who is an out gay at the school. So it just kind of felt like, oh well, this is like so convenient. But obviously Victor is going through it, so we're kind of taking on a little bit of a journey on that relationship. And I feel like it's very predictable. We kind of knew at least something was going to happen between them this season. And yeah, I do kind of like them together. Obviously they worked at the coffee shop together, that was cute. And then they kind of already kind of laid that in the narrative that Benji and his boo were having problems. So obviously you're kind of thinking, well, they're having problems. Okay, it's very clear that Victor is going to somehow weave his way in. But what I thought was quite interesting with the relationship problems that Benji had with his boo is because they kind of differed on how their relationship would go. And I feel like I've seen kind of, I think there's a lot with series that kind of tackle gay issues or gay characters, is this kind of, there's always like one character that says that they don't want to adhere to heterosexual norms of relationships. So I've heard monogamy a lot, I've heard marriage a lot. And in this series, it kind of tackles anniversary. And, you know, a lot of gay people do celebrate anniversaries and stuff like that. But it is kind of set in a kind of het capitalist setting. It is. So I can understand the rejection of that, but I just didn't understand. I personally didn't understand why he was so fiercely against it when it's something that was clearly important to his boyfriend. I thought that was a little bit strange. I feel like they were just like, okay, we need them to have a problem, so this is what we're gonna do. So I'd be interested to hear from gay viewers. What do you kind of think about anniversaries and stuff like that? Do you kind of still take part on them, or do you kind of reject them as a heterosexual norm? And then obviously Victor and Benji end up going on a work trip, shawty. And I don't even know what was happening. I feel like, was Victor watching Benji in his sleep the whole time? And then when Benji got up, he just thought he'd go in for the kiss. I don't know. It was kind of creepy. But obviously they kiss, but Benji kind of rebuffs him. And, you know, it's a bit awkward between them. Benji ends up transferring stores because he wants to make things work with his boo. And I thought that was pretty realistic. I think it would have been, and I think I appreciated that they didn't just start having an affair straight away. It was nice that, you know, they were kind of teasing us a little bit, because sometimes it can be a bit too, like, this is a predictable season, to be honest, but sometimes it could be like a bit too predictable. So I appreciate that they didn't get together at that exact point, and we had a little bit of tension between them before they got together. Obviously with Benji, his feelings are a lot more intense and indicative that, you know, he is gay. And then obviously at the end, something substantial happens, which, like I said, I'll talk about near the end. I did appreciate the little cat and mouse going on between Benji and Victor. Yes, there was also some het relationships in here, but I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't care about them, and I'll tell you why when I talk about the characters. We also kind of get an insight into Victor's family life, which I think was done really well. I feel like they created the family dynamic really well, and we do have a lot of drama going on. The mother has had an affair with the dad's boss, and there's just animosity between them about it, like the whole series, until we get the situation at the end, which of course I'll talk about near the end. But we also hear that the father has done something dirty. So overall with the narrative, I feel like the script was pretty solid. There was some areas where it could have been refined here and there, but I think overall as a series, each episode was good, and it made it easy to binge through, and it was an enjoyable binge as well. So overall, I'd say the narrative was pretty solid. So in terms of the performances, I feel like all of the performances were at the very least pretty solid. So let's talk about the strong performances. The mum and dad played the mum and dad pretty well. They were pretty believable, pretty authentic. The kind of tension that they had, the bickering that they had was very authentic. I recognized the mother from Ugly Betty, Anna Ortiz, the father, James Martinez. I've never really seen him on anything before, but I think they did a great job as the parents. Victor, played by Michael Cimino, did a great job as well. Absolutely fantastic as Victor. Like, you can't help but like feel very protective of him, like he's your like brother. And yeah, I really felt for him. Like, I was like kind of getting a little bit emotional. I really felt for him when he was going through it, and, you know, especially when he was getting to the kind of self-hating part of himself, when he was going through that phase of he hates himself, he hates the fact that he was gay. And I just wanted to hug him, you know. I just want to hug him, tell him, you know, everything's going to be okay, Victor. So yeah, I really have to commend him. I've never seen him on anything before, so I'm guessing he's a new actor. But fabulous performance, well casted. And yeah, I'm here for the Latinx representation, the Latinx family representation. We love to see it. So my next favourite character, or maybe equally as favourite, is Felix. Felix, I love Felix. Like, he is just the perfect friend. He's a bit of a weirdo, but he's that weirdo that you need in your life to spice things up. Like, you need a weird friend in your life, and Felix is that weird friend who's weird but he's lovable. I had no doubt that he was going to accept Victor for who he was. He's got a little bit of a backstory, which just kind of makes like him even more lovable, that, you know, he's gone through it but he still manages to be this nice person. And I really respected the fact that he told Blake, like, if you don't want to be with me publicly, you can't get this deep privately. We stand a king who knows his worth, honey. He's played by Anthony Turnbull. I haven't seen him before, but yes, I love him. I'd love to see him and Michael in anything. Love them both. Love the friendship between them. Like, it was just so wholesome and organic. I loved it. There was a few odd things he said. Obviously, that was the script's fault, but yeah, I love me some Felix. The other strong performance is Pilar, which is, I think I've seen her before. I can't remember where. La Ferreira, I think. She was also a very strong performance. She annoyed the hell out of me, but you know what? She reminded me of my sister, or sisters, and how she was at that age. So even though she was annoying, it was an authentic sibling annoyance. And, you know, her and, you know, the teen angst that she was going through, it was very believable, again, very authentic. And as much as she annoyed me, I got to give it to her. She's a strong actress. So that was another kind of strong performance for me. In terms of the other characters, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't as invested in them. Blake's character, really didn't care about her. I like Phoenix, but them in a relationship, like, I'm not really getting behind it, to be honest. I feel like she was really doing my man Felix dirty. And yeah, I'm not really sure if it's in terms of direction, because it kind of feel like she didn't have as much direction as Victor and Felix's character. So sometimes her performances kind of felt a bit mediocre compared to the rest. So I really didn't really care. So I personally didn't care about Blake. Mia, obviously it's great to have representation. She's a black popular girl. She's a black rich girl as well. And she's not a mean girl. Black teen popular girls, they're mean girls rather than, you know, the popular girl who's down to earth. So it was nice to see that. It's nice to see that the hair team was on point with her. But I wasn't invested in her character at all. I kind of struggled to see what Victor did kind of seeing her. And the only episode I kind of felt anything towards her was the final episode. And we did get a lot of her. We got a backstory, but I don't know, I just couldn't connect to her character, to be honest. Andrew, he was decent. Again, I kind of connected more to him at the end. Kind of redeemed himself, because at first I kind of thought like he was a trashy dude, but then he kind of showed that, you know, okay, maybe he's not as trashy as I thought. They kind of had like throughout they kind of tried to redeem him as, you know, not the stereotypical jock. And I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning I kind of thought maybe him and Victor would become a thing, you know, enemies becoming lovers. I don't know, I was thinking about it, you know. But yeah, I'd say he was kind of okay, but I wasn't really invested in Andrew either. So I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Do you kind of feel the same as me? Was there kind of a lack of investment with the characters? Was there kind of a lack of investment there for some of the characters, or did you kind of love them all? And who was your favourite character or characters? I'd be interested to know. So, okay, we're here now. Let's talk about the ending, the finale. So obviously we knew the reveal was coming. By the dance, you know, by the prom dance episode, you knew some shit was going down. You knew, I was like, okay, they're not going to get through the night. It's the final episode. They're going to leave it on something is going to happen. Something is going to happen, or they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger of something happening to take us on to season 2. In terms of how I thought whatever was going to happen was going to go down, I thought these are the potential scenarios. I thought someone would overhear or oversee something happening with Victor and either intentionally or unintentionally out him to the whole dance. Another possibility I thought is that Benji would realise that he had feelings for Victor, and they would end up having a public declaration of love or interest with each other in front of the whole school, and they wouldn't really care who saw them. That's what I kind of thought. And then another thing I thought is that maybe Mia would oversee or overhear something, and that's how Mia would find out, and she would either tell the whole school or she would keep it to herself but be very upset. I'd be interested to hear from you guys. What were your theories in terms of how the reveal was going to go down? So obviously, the first thing that happens in the bathroom, Benji and Victor talk about the kiss. Victor says, you know, he's sorry, it's not going to happen again, he's not going to come in between his relationship. Now, sorry, my stomach. Now, the fact that they were in a bathroom, I was already like, somebody has overheard them. I was kind of thinking, ain't nobody want to knock on the stalls to make sure nobody could hear them? And what do you know? Andrew comes out of the stall. And I was just like, oh shit, it's Andrew. Because obviously we know that Andrew and Mia, you know, Andrew tried to kiss Mia and Andrew wants Mia back. But Andrew says that he's not a dickhead, so he's not going to out Victor, which I can respect, because I was like, okay, I didn't expect that from you, Andrew. This is your perfect opportunity to get Mia back, and you chose to not take that route, which I'm glad he did, because outing somebody is horrible. So obviously Pilar, she's the annoying sister, so she found the note that Victor wrote for Ben. He addressed it to B. There was no pronouns used, so Pilar is just automatically assuming he was writing to a girl. And she's going around asking questions. She's going around asking Felix. She's going around asking Benji, hoping that he's going to lead her to this supposed girl. And that kind of causes problems for Benji and his boyfriend, because he was trying to keep all a secret. Victor feels bad, so he tries to save Benji and his boyfriend's relationship. But obviously with these like teen series, they always do things overly cheesy. Like, if you're going to try and save somebody's relationship after you kiss their man, you wouldn't go on to say all of these amazing things. You just keep it short and cute. Like, you know, he's a good guy, it was all me, don't punish him for it. You wouldn't go on to say he's this amazing guy and he just is so caring and he's just so sweet and he's all of these things. Like, you wouldn't go on to say that, like, you know. So he's saying all that stuff, and Benji's like having all of the hot eyes, like, oh my god, like, Victor is just like so cute, like, fuck this guy. And then they end up together, and then they're on the bench, you know, the breeze is blowing, the lips are quivering, you know, Benji's got some nice lips, you know, and they kiss. So does Victor's lips. And Mia comes out and she sees it. She sees it. And I think that was probably Mia's best performance, to be honest. So I have to say that the whole episode, she really did that. And at first I was just like, I don't care about Mia. But I felt so bad for her. Like, imagine having to see that after like having like a terrible week. Because Mia was, you know, shit's been terrible. Even though I didn't really care for her, she has been through it. And to see that as well, she's thinking Victor is this perfect guy. Like, he is like too good to be true. And of course he's too good to be true because he's gay. So yeah, homegirl. So yeah, I did really feel sorry for Mia. So obviously Victor then finds out that Mia knows. Obviously Victor finds out that Mia saw them. His sister is still kind of sniffing around, like guilt tripping him to confess to what happened. And I feel like at that point he kind of made peace with, okay, it's time to tell the truth. I was longing it out anyway, but it's just time to tell the truth now. Obviously at that point he'd already told Felix, so that was an easy test run. But I feel like at that point it was like, okay, it's time to stop living the lie, you know? I will say, this is like when I changed my opinion on Andrew, because, you know, Mia told Andrew, because obviously Andrew took Mia home, he was consoling her, and Mia was like, oh, you want to come inside? And Andrew was like, nah, like, you know, I'm going to wait for you to get over Victor first, because I don't want to be your rebound. And I was like, okay. You turned down some free coochie, so... Okay, Andrew, we love to see a mature person. We love to see it, a king who knows his worth. So then they go home and the parents are there sitting in the sofa, living room, being very dramatic, and they announce that they're separating. Now, I saw that coming because I was just like, imagine you're trying to do piano lessons and your man is just coming like, so is you cheating on me or not? I mean, cheating is wrong and it's always going to instill insecurity within the relationship. But it sounds like to me that he was insecure anyway before the cheating even started. So, I mean, I could see that. I could see that coming. So they're separated. They're probably going to get back together. But who knows, you know, in the modern world, the divorce rate is very high. They could very well end up divorcing. But that was their big reveal. So then I was kind of thinking, well, Victor, maybe he doesn't want to rock the boat, so he's not going to say anything. And then he said something along lines of, I've got something to tell you. And then he was just like, kind of like being a bit nervous, like, and then he was like, nothing. And I was like, he's not going to say anything. At that point, I was like, he's not going to say anything. He's going to say nothing. And then he said nothing. And then he turned around. He paused. And I was like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it. And then he was like, I'm gay. And it was the first time he said it out loud as well. And then it cuts, and that was the end. And I was like, I knew you were going to do that. I mean, I respect the ending. I was just like, damn, I fucking want season. I was like, how long am I going to have to wait for season 2? Because I want to see what happens next. I really do hope that they take it well. But I'd also like to see maybe a somewhat, you know, realistic portrayal, because I do feel like we do need realistic portrayals, because I mean, it's just depressing because sometimes it is a little bit depressing to watch, you know, because sometimes it can get a little bit depressing to watch, you know, happy endings that are just not reality for you. I don't know, but there's a part of me that wants a happy ending, and there's part of me that wants it to be somewhat realistic. I don't know, guys. How do you guys want it to go? Do you want it to be like a happy ending, realistic ending? I don't want them to be like horrendous about it, but you know, tension at least, I think. But yes, but what do you guys think is going to happen next season? Obviously, we're going to see the reaction. But do you think he's going to come out at school, or just kind of keep it on the low for now? And how do you think that is going to affect how he is seen at school, which is quite interesting. I think nowadays, I'd like to think it was easier, but like from my little sister, I said, you know, is it still bad for like, is there still a lot of gay bullying in school? She was like, yeah, it's still bad. I think it's definitely less severe, but when I was at school, I had a gay friend, and it was really bad. Like, we were spat at, chased, I had to fight people. Like, sometimes it wasn't even just verbal. I think it definitely got better as the years, in the older years. In the younger years, it was atrocious. And is he a sophomore? So he's 16. So 16 is, you know, when people start to mature, you know, start to be a bit more open-minded. So I think there is potential there for a smooth transition. But obviously him being in the basketball team, a male-dominated, very hyper-masculine environment, maybe that could cause some issues, I'm anticipating. But, you know, maybe Andrew could, you know, be there for him. I don't know, defend him. I don't know. But yeah, I'm interested but yeah, I really do want a season 2. I really do hope it's going to be reviewed. And I pretty much think it will. I think overall, like I said, it was a cute series. You know, there were some bits of the script, you know, it could have been tightened up, could have been refined a little bit. But I think this definitely gives you what you want. It gives you gets you in your field. It's going to be emotional. I think this is definitely going to hit. A lot of people are going to be able to relate to this. A lot of, you know, LGBT plus people of color are going to relate to this, I think. And this is why representation is really important, because in terms of LGBT stories, often it is dominated by white casts. So I love that it has got a Latinx cast as well. I like that they kind of integrated different types of sexuality as well, not just gay. They introduced pansexuality and stuff like that. And I think it's great that they introduced numerous forms of queer identity as well, not just kind of blanket gay representation. So yeah, it's an easy binge. You can get through it in one day. In terms of production, cinematography was pretty standard. Couldn't really find any fault with it. Set design and everything, costume, everything looked authentic. The hair team was great. The score was pretty decent. The soundtrack, I loved the soundtrack. It was just giving me like, it fit the environment, you know, the teeny environment, you know. So taking everything into account, I'm going to give the series a solid 3 out of 5. I think if there was just a little bit more refinement in the script and a little bit more development from some of the characters, I think I would have preferred a lot more development between Victor and Benji, and a lot more development between Benji and his boyfriend as well. I think definitely hindered it for me for being anything more than a 3 out of 5. But I still think it was a pretty solid season. I do think there should be just a little bit more improvement and development going into season 2, but I am very excited for a season 2. So yeah, do let me know what you thought of this series. Do let me know what you thought of my thoughts. And of course, let me know what you would rate it out of 5. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you have, don't forget to press that notification bell so you know when the next review is dropping. Till next time, guys. Bye.